Hello, my name is Kendra M, and I am from Des Moines, Iowa. I was born in Iowa City, Iowa, in August of 1982, and I've lived in Iowa all of my life. I'm currently 28 years old, and my family includes my mother, who is a Caucasian woman, and then my father, who's African American, and he was not necessarily present in my life, so I would not consider him a core member of my family, but just a biological family member. So my family that raised me and supported me consists of my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, who is no longer with us, and then my sister, and then more recently her husband, and then their two little boys. Also, I would say that growing up in Ames, I also had a community of women, predominantly lesbian women, who were a part of my family because my mother was a single mother and she worked a lot. She did find and establish a community of women that helped her look after my sister and I. So that's who I would consider my family. So not necessarily just biological ties, but other communities, other networks of women who she established relationships with throughout my growing up years. My family is strong because it has a foundation in caring and respect. Even though we are all very different people, my sister and I couldn't be more different. We recognize and understand that supporting each other is foundational to having productive and healthy lives. So that's definitely the core aspect of our strong family is respect for our differences, and that those differences make us unique and make us stronger. The policies that my family needs to change, I would say one policy would be state assistance to low-income women would be a very useful policy shift, because right now in Iowa it's really hard for women who are not necessarily single but partnered, who have lower incomes, to receive assistance even for a short period of time, like if they're going to school or if they're trying to improve their careers and they're not necessarily making enough money to support themselves and their families. TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, legislation change would be definitely necessary. Also, educational reform. Right now, in the state of Iowa, there are more young black men going to prison than there are to college. So we really need to look at the educational standards and how we have separated educational achievement from family strength, because what's going on is that there's not a lot of support for black families in the state of Iowa to allow their children to go to school with the expectation of academic excellence, and then also very little support for those families to be economically independent, spiritually well, and holistic. So policies that would affect holistic family improvement, particularly for black families, I think would definitely be something that needs to be taken into consideration. Also, something that is currently happening in Iowa is that they are currently removing a lot of the people who work in the Department of Human Rights. So I just heard about the cut of several positions, one position on the Commission of Status of Women, one position on the Commission on the Status of Asian Pacific Islanders. And so all of those offices that deal with specific communities in Iowa are currently losing positions. And so it's definitely become loud and clear that supporting minority communities in Iowa is not our government priority. So to definitely create some advocacy and some action around why these positions are being cut from the government, and that the Department of Human Rights definitely needs to be considered a priority in the state of Iowa, because there are such huge educational, health, and economic disparities among communities of color in Iowa.